Hello everyone, my name is FELICIA HOPSON and I'm Director of the Burlington County Board of Commissioners. I am thrilled to be joining you today to mark a very special occasion, the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment giving women the right to vote in all elections. Voting is the most essential right that all citizens in the United States possess. It is at the very heart of our democracy, and it ensures that each one of us has a voice who represents us and how our governments operate. Whether it's the president in the White House, or New Jersey's governor in Trenton, or even my own job as Burlington County Board Director, we work for you. You are our bosses. This wasn't the case for women until August 26, 1920, when Secretary of State Bainbridge Colby certified the ratification of the 19th Amendment, which stated that the United States citizens' right to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. The amendment's ratification was more than just political victory. It was a culmination of decades-long battle by women for not only full citizenship, but also equality. Equality. It's one simple word, but we know from our history how difficult it can be to obtain. Suffragists like Alice Paul faced taunts, threats, mobs, and even imprisonment. Though their courage and perseverance, they secured for women their long denied political voice. Our board decided we wanted to honor these women and celebrate their historic achievement. The questions became, how can we safely do that during an ongoing pandemic? The answer became this video. We recorded messages from more than a dozen New Jersey women we believe epitomize what Alice Paul and the suffragists fought for, women like JOANNE (SCHWARTZ), who became Burlington County's first female county clerk, Mary Ann O'Brien, our county's first woman surrogate, or even Eve Cullinan, who is the first woman to hold the post of county administrator. We will also hear from New Jersey legislators like Senator Dawn ADDIEGO, Assemblywoman Jean Stanfield, and Assemblywoman Carol Murphy, 3 of the 37 women currently serving in New Jersey's legislature. We hope that someday there will be more women joined and even more legislators. We're also proud to welcome Chief Megan Campbell to Burlington County's Club of Groundbreaking Women. She's not only Palmyra's first female chief of police, she's the first woman to lead a municipal police department in Burlington County's long history. I will leave the others as a surprise. Suffice to say, it is an impressive group of women. I ask you to listen to their words and hopefully become inspired by their examples. I know I am. So let me end by saying Happy Women's Equality Day and thank you to all of the suffragists who fought for our right to vote. Dr. Martin Luther King once described voting as essential to self-determination. Without it, he said, quote, "I do not possess myself. I cannot make up my mind. It is made up for me. I cannot live as a democratic citizen. I can only submit to the edit of others." Dr. King spoke these words in 1957, but they remain all too relevant today as we continue the struggle to not only protect our voting rights, but to achieve real and lasting equality for all. But as we know from Alice Paul's example, it's a fight worth making. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Burlington County Freeholder Linda HYNES, and I am here to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment. As a female elected leader in a male-dominated world, I know firsthand the challenges that women face, and I do everything in my power to ensure that young women and girls do not face the same challenges in their daily lives. In my own personal story, my parents got divorced when I was 8 years old. My mom was a housewife with an 11th grade education. But my mom had a female attorney, and this woman, she was everything I wanted to be when I grew up. She was smart and kind and caring, and she wore pretty dresses and high heel shoes, and I knew I wanted to be just like her when I grew up. So I made it my life's ambition to not only be the first in my family to go to college, but to earn that law degree as I sit here in my law office. I think it is my own personal story that makes it so important to me to go out and mentor young women. I often think what my life would have been had I not been exposed to that very successful and smart woman when I was young. So, to all of the young women watching this, never give up on your dreams. Never let anyone tell you that you can't reach your goal, and keep fighting for whatever it is that you are passionate about. To the women of my own generation, mentor our youth. You have no idea who may be looking at you and in the back of their mind say, I want to be just like her when I grow up. So my message on this 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment is simple. We must support, we must mentor, and we must inspire. Our next generation is our future, so we must do all we can to preserve their future. Happy Equality Day, ladies. Here's to the next 100 years.
Hello, everyone. This is First Lady Tammy Murphy. Thank you so much for the invitation to join with Burlington County in celebrating the 100th anniversary of the passage and signing of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. That is 100 years of women having a say in the laws that govern us. And while we still have a great deal of work to do in reaching the full participation of women in leadership at all levels of decision-making, political, economic, and public life, we must pause for a moment to look back and celebrate how very far we have come. And there is perhaps no better evidence of our progress than the young women leading the movement towards an inclusive future. These women stand on the shoulders of giants, the shoulders of our mothers and grandmothers, and the shoulders of suffragists who advocated, protested, endured physical assault and imprisonment, all to gain the right to vote. Earning the right to vote is a milestone achievement in the course of women's history in this country. But the greater lesson is in understanding the generations of persistence it took to reach that milestone, and recognizing that for women of color, the fight for suffrage did not end in 1920, but continues today. What lessons can we learn from the generations of women who came before us? Do not be discouraged. Persist. Your voice matters. Suffragists waged 56 electoral campaigns in 31 states to win the right to vote for women. They lost 41 of those drives, but they never quit. Even without the 19th Amendment, by the time the 1920 presidential election approached, women had earned the right to vote for president in 30 of the 48 states. This was the direct result of the work of suffragists on the state, county, and local levels. The right to vote is perhaps our most sacred democratic value, and it is our chance to continue the tradition of autonomy that took our grandmothers and great-grandmothers 144 years to earn. Now, in 2020, the celebration of that victory must drive us onward. To be good stewards of the gift they gave us, we must constantly ask ourselves what more we can do to advance the participation of women in every sphere of life. One of the first things Phil did as governor was to sign New Jersey's Equal Pay Act, ensuring equal pay for equal work. We currently have 37 women serving in the New Jersey State Legislature, and one of the things I'm most proud of in our administration is the number of women leading cabinet departments. For the first time in New Jersey's 242-year-old history, a majority of cabinet appointments by the governor have been women. Continuing this momentum is something that we can only do together. One voice alone is not enough. There must be a chorus of voices calling for change, and those voices must be inclusive of all women regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, gender identity, sexuality, or citizenship. I urge you to celebrate this milestone not as a stopping point for the women's movement, but a reminder of what we can accomplish when we join together. And together, New Jersey women will continue to make history.
As the nation seeks to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, giving women the right to vote, I would like to take the time to reflect and commemorate the untold stories of the Black woman suffrage. Black women fought alongside white women in the mid-1800s and the early 1900s for this right to vote. However, when that moment came, Black women were excluded. It would take some 5 more decades before we too would be afforded that same right to vote. And so I would like to make sure that the heroism is no longer unsung. It is no longer stricken or excluded from the history books. And when we take the time to reflect on such a momentous occasion, let us make sure that we are including our unsung heroes like Ida B. Wells and Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, Mary Church Terrell, and Sojourner Truth. Ain't I a woman?
Getting involved in the whole process of government was extremely important, because that is the one way that women can bring our perspective to government and make a difference on behalf of all people. And I always say to young ladies when I'm talking to them that it's not just women's issues, all issues are women's issues.
Hello, I'm Assemblywoman Carol Murphy, and I'm proud to help celebrate the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment that finally extended women the right to vote. It's hard to imagine, but up till election day 1920, women were denied the basic ability to participate in our democracy. We all owe a tremendous debt to the suffrage like Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and of course, New Jersey, our own Alice Paul, who was raised right here in Burlington County and in my hometown of Mount Laurel. Alice was one of the true heroes in history and who served as a driving force behind the suffrage movement. She was fearless in pursuit of equality, organizing marches and rallies even in the 7th picket of the White House that landed her and many other women in prison. Even behind bars, Alice continued to fight for the vote, leading hunger strikes while in prison, even aimed threats of commitment to insane asylum. Her bravery and perseverance garnered public sympathy for our suffrage movement and helped the President Woodrow Wilson to support the amendment. Alice died in 1977, but she would never talk to anybody in her hometown unless they agreed for equality. Her family's a historic farmstead that has preserved by Alice Paul Institute as a museum honoring her life and the accomplishment, and continues to enrich and empower young girls to continue moving forward and take on leadership roles in government, in business, the arts, and all parts of society. As a proud member of the Institute's board and the work that we are doing, along with the staff and the GLC girls and everyone who's associated with Alice Paul to carry on that legacy, together we fulfill the dream of achieving ordinary equality for all, regardless of age, sex, race, religious, and status. We need to do more to recognize Alice and the many women for the contributions that they made to New Jersey, such as Harriet Truman, who's down in Atlantic City area, who helped fight suffrage in her own right. And I've introduced legislation that would not only replace the statues of the two of Stockton and Kearney to be replaced with Alice Paul and Harriet Tubman in New Jersey. And as a proud supporter of both of these legislation, I can't wait for the next 100 years to see when total equality happens for everyone. And in the words of Alice Paul, ordinary equality is not that difficult. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jean Stanfield, Assemblywoman for the 8th Legislative District, and I'm here today to talk about the 19th Amendment. It's something that really has a great deal of personal meaning to me. My grandmother, Catherine McGowan, was born in 1900, and she didn't have the right to vote. She was 20 years old when she first could vote, and that right to vote meant so much to her. She voted every single year. She researched her candidates. And even when she was 98 years old and in bad health, had trouble with her vision, pouring rain, she still went out to vote. I took her to vote religiously, and because it meant so much to her. And it's something that I tell my daughter and my granddaughters about so that they don't take the right to vote for granted either. It's just something that's so important and so life-changing for all of us. So please, when you go out to vote, think about all the women in our lifetimes that did not have that right. Thank you.
The Women's Suffrage Parade of 1913 was organized by a large group of white women led by Alice Paul in support of a constitutional amendment guaranteeing women the right to vote. Many of the protesters were pushed to the ground, spat upon, injured, all while the police were watching. Marching against the status quo was not easy for white women because of the racist, sexist sentiment during this time frame, as well as some white suffragettes who did not favor suffrage for black women. So despite the fact that the right to vote was no less important to black women, sadly, these women were told to march at the back of the parade with the black procession. Despite this, the 22 founders of Delta Sigma Theta marched. It was the only African American women's organization to participate during this particular day. The group of young women founded Delta Sigma Theta on January the 13th, 1913 at Howard University, and its contribution to the Washington Women's Suffrage Parade was the founders' first public event. All of this change occurred because many brave women, black and white, who marched on Washington over 100 years ago, have benefited greatly from the actions of these brave women. I have voted in every election since I was 18 years old. I'm a college graduate of an HBCU, and I was extremely active in the civil rights era while living in Mississippi. I'm proud to be one of the illustrious members of the Divine Nine, Delta Sigma Theta sorority. I am Lorene Moore.
Hi everyone, I'm Burlington County Administrator Eve Cullinan, and I'm thrilled to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment with women's right to vote. Here in Burlington County, we have a tradition of employing women leaders, and I'm so proud to be one of them. I'm the first woman administrator of Burlington County's history, so I do know a little bit about breaking through the so-called glass ceiling and breaking tradition. Suffragists like Alice Paul and Carrie Chapman Catt fought so hard for women to have the right to vote. They knew that without that basic right, we would never be able to work or serve in government, become doctors or scientists, practice law, or even manage a business. It paved the way for girls and women to follow their dreams and quite literally become members of the society that we are today. The 19th Amendment almost wasn't ratified in 1920. It came down to one vote in Tennessee, where lawmakers were divided on whether to become the 36th and deciding state to approve the amendment. The legislative body was deadlocked in a 48 in favor and 40 against when a young assemblyman named Harry Byrne suddenly switched sides and cast the deciding vote in favor of the amendment's ratification. Turns out, Mr. Byrne had received a letter from his mom on the morning of the vote that implored him to, quote, be a good boy and help put the rat in ratification. As the mom of 3 children, one of them a teenage daughter and another adult son, my youngest son as well, this story demonstrates how easily families can influence the future, especially a mom. So on the 100th anniversary of this critical moment that changed American politics and society forever, is fitting to thank the suffragists. Take this moment who fought so long and hard for the rights that we enjoy today, but most importantly for Mr. Harry Byrne, who listened to his mom and voted on the right side of equality. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic has affected the way that we're able to commemorate this 2020 centennial. So on this 100th anniversary of this critical moment in history that has changed American politics and society forever, it's fitting to be thankful and thank all the suffragists who fought for so long and hard for the rights that we do enjoy today. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Megan Campbell. I'm the police chief for Palmyra Borough in Burlington County, New Jersey. I am the county's first female municipal law enforcement chief of police. I hope that my recent accomplishment shows other young women and girls that they can achieve their goals with hard work and determination. I want to also say happy 100th anniversary to the 19th Amendment. Please remember to exercise your right to vote this November. Every voice matters and every vote counts. Thank you.
Greetings, I am Dr. Tiffany Worthy, Mayor of Willingboro Township, and I am excited to celebrate 100 years of women's constitutional right to vote through the passing of the 19th Amendment. And while this is a landmark moment in history, I would be remiss if I did not also recognize that it would be several decades before all women, particularly women of color, were able to exercise their voting rights. Nonetheless, today, women are a force to be reckoned with in the voting booths. And in recent elections, women have cast almost 10 million more votes than men. In the century since women's suffrage, women have transformed American politics, and we are more engaged voters. I read an article that said suffrage is not simply about the right to vote, but also about what that represents, the basic and fundamental human right of being able to participate in the choices for your future and that of your community. And this year, we celebrate 100 years of just that.
Hello, Burlington County. My name is Jackie VEASEY. I'm the mayor of Evesham Township. I just want to wish a happy 100th anniversary to the 19th Amendment, giving the right to vote to women. So proud to be celebrating this 100th anniversary today. I want to encourage all women, all young women, old women, get out and vote this year. Given that we live right here in Burlington County and have the Alice Paul Institute right next door in Mount Laurel, we resonate so much more with the women who worked so hard 100 years ago to fight for our right, and to honor them, we must get out and vote this year. So thank you again to everyone in Burlington County for listening to me. I hope you have a great day, and happy anniversary, 19th Amendment.
I'm Lucy Beard, the director of the Alice Paul Institute at Paulsdale, Alice Paul's birthplace and a National Historic Landmark in Mount Laurel, Burlington County. Alice Paul was a product of Burlington County's Quaker heritage, believing, like all Quakers, that men and women are equal and should have an equal say in their government. She was a leader in the final fight for women to win the vote in 1920. She led the women who marched, picketed in front of the White House, went to jail where they endured hunger strikes and forced feedings. And 100 years ago this month, they won. The Alice Paul Institute celebrates Alice Paul's legacy with programs that honor the history of women and America, and workshops that prepare young women with the skills they need to lead us into the future.
On August 26, 2020, we are celebrating the 100th anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment, guaranteeing and protecting women's constitutional right to vote. I'm so proud to be from Burlington County, where we have a long-standing history of strong women in leadership. I previously served on the Freeholder Board, and today I serve as the county's first female surrogate. As of today, 8 of the 21 county surrogates in the state of New Jersey are female. I take my job as surrogate very seriously, knowing the impact that I have on younger generations. Women in leadership roles are setting examples for younger females every day. We need to continue to ensure that women are represented equally in all levels of government. It is almost unfathomable to think that just 100 years ago, women were not able to vote. Today, we need to keep paving the way for women to follow in our footsteps. Let's celebrate this milestone, continue to work together, and appreciate all the efforts made to attain the passage of the 19th Amendment. If it weren't for them, I probably would not be standing here today speaking to you as surrogate of Burlington County. Thank you.
Hi, I'm JOANNE SCHWARTZ, Burlington County Clerk. I'm really happy to be able to talk about this very important subject to all of you. I do have a bit of a cheat sheet because I don't want to forget everything, because there's some very important facts here. The most important probably is that I am the first female clerk in Burlington County's history. Now we're talking about a history that goes back to the year of 1692 when the clerk's office was established. Also, out of 21 counties in our state, only 11 of those have a female clerk, and that's all been very, very recent. This shift shows that females are being elected more and more into important leadership positions. And I want to thank Alice Paul, our very own special Alice Paul from Burlington County, for making that possible when she fought so hard 100 years ago for our rights to be allowed to vote. She led the way so that all of us can be here now today. So we are now celebrating the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, which guarantees women the right to vote. Voting is an essential part of our democracy. It is our democracy. People died so that we could all be able to vote. So I'm grateful that I am here today, and I want to thank all of not only the women who have voted, but also their partners who've helped get this and get us all to where we are. So in conclusion, again, I want to thank you all, and I want to say how very important it is to have women vote. Thank you again, and don't forget to vote and to wear your mask.
In the words of the first known African American suffragist, Sojourner Truth, if the first woman God ever created was strong enough to turn the world upside down, all these women together ought to be able to turn it back and get it right side up again. A message delivered in 1851 carried through to 1920 with the passing of the 19th Amendment and still resonates today. I'm Malika Morris, Director of the Division of Community Outreach and Special Projects, and also the Chairperson of the Minority and Equality Rights Task Force. And I ask you to join me in celebrating the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment and then honor it on November 3rd with your vote.
I'm Carol Johnson, Commissioner of the New Jersey Department of Human Services, and I'm honored to join leaders in Burlington County and across New Jersey in celebrating the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment. The historic expansion of democracy that cemented women's right to vote was a hard-fought and righteous battle for what is right. And we are fortunate to stand on the shoulders of the women who led the fight and risked so much for our futures. Women have continually exercised our rights to make our communities, our state, and our nation a better place for our families and for our own economic opportunity. As the Commissioner of the New Jersey Department of Human Services, I am fortunate to work each day with the fierce and accomplished women of the New Jersey Legislature, the historic number of women in the Governor's Cabinet, and women leaders in county and local government across New Jersey. Together, we're working to make healthcare and childcare more affordable and accessible, help families struggling with mental health or addiction issues, and help our older residents to thrive. We do this work knowing that 100 years ago, women leaders made it possible by opening the doors to democracy and securing our right to the ballot box. We thank and honor them today, and we will continue to work every day to carry on their fight for the women of our state. Thank you to the leaders of Burlington County for marking this historic day and for your tireless work on behalf of all of our residents.
Hello, my name is Millie SCHOLTZ, and I retired in 2018 as the first female warden in Burlington County. It is an honor to join you in celebrating the 100th anniversary of the passing of the 19th Amendment, guaranteeing us, women, the right to vote. This fight for the 19th Amendment took decades of advocacy from women suffragists such as Susan B. Anthony and Alice Paul, one of the main leaders of the movement, born right here in Mount Laurel, Burlington County. They are remembered for wearing all white as they marched or gave speeches for voting equality, and this is still a powerful symbol today, as displayed by the many female legislators who wore all white to the 2019 State of the Union address. It's because of the hard work of these women before me that I was able to stand on their shoulders to become Burlington County's first female warden. In remembering the anniversary of the 19th Amendment, all women, we stand together and seize this opportunity to use our power and vote. Your vote will influence this election. Let your voice be heard. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Karen Hendershot, a past president of the League of Women Voters of Burlington County. I'm honored to help celebrate the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment. This year, the League, which was born out of the women's suffragist movement, is also commemorating its centennial. We are a nonpartisan organization dedicated to informed and active participation in government and to increased understanding of major public policy issues. The Burlington County League engages in numerous activities in advocacy and voter service throughout our community. We sponsor candidates' forums and provide election information and assistance. Since 2017, we've registered almost 10,000 new U.S. citizens to vote, and through our Running and Winning program, we've reached hundreds of young women in high schools throughout the county. We look forward to empowering voters and defending democracy for the next 100 years.